Blessings and namaste to you. Thank you for joining me. This is a beginners focused floor-based class that will cover an all of body practice and will particularly help to target parts of the body that we hold a lot of regular tension and stress in from doing things like sitting at a desk all day, or particularly for people who have repetitive body patterns. So what I mean by that is if you're exercising in a particular way the same, like if you're always running, or if you're always going to the gym, or if you're always doing a particular movement, then the body gets quite rigid in its patterns and pathways. So Yin Yoga can help to open up and release the fascia and the connective tissue in the body so that we can move more freely and with ease. Yin Yoga also supports rapid increase of flexibility, and primarily it calms the mind and calms the body. So because in Yin Yoga we're holding poses for a length of time, it means both the body and the mind have an opportunity to rest and recover and restore. So it's a beautiful practice, although sometimes challenging. It's a beautiful practice to instill that sense of calm and spaciousness within ourselves. So today's practice will only be holding the poses for around a minute and a half. But as you become more familiar with Yin Yoga and your body learns to enjoy Yin Yoga a little more, then you can hold the poses for longer and longer, anywhere up to kind of 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, let's get started. So we'll put you in the first position and then I'll share with you a little bit about the principles of Yin Yoga. So the first asana or posture or position for the practice today is called butterfly, bringing the soles of the feet together and holding on to your feet or your toes if you can, and moving the feet away from you so that if you looked in the space of your legs, it would be a diamond shape rather than in other forms of yoga that are more masculine, say Iyengar, Hatha, Ashtanga or Vinyasa. We put our feet in towards the groins and we kind of make a triangle with our legs. So we're not doing that, we're relaxing the muscles and we're focusing on the connective tissue. So pushing the feet away, opening the legs. If you have blocks or blankets you can use, if you feel this is too much of a pull on your groins here, then you can chop up the knees with those props. But I'm trying not to use any props for this session because it's really aimed at beginners who may not have any props, any yoga props at home. So bring the soles of the feet together, grabbing a hold of the toes. So the three principles of Yin Yoga which we will practice in every single pose, and I'll walk you through now, are one, the first one is to find your edge. And what I mean by that is, when we start off in a Yin Yoga asana, we allow ourselves to fidget and move around a little bit until we've found that spot where our body and our mind agree that we have reached our edge. So you would probably be feeling at your edge some tolerable discomfort, but if you went over your edge, you'd be feeling pain. So I don't want you to go into the pain zone. I want you really just to stay in that, this is uncomfortable for me, I can feel my body needs to release, but I'm going to stay here to see what happens. So finding your edge is the first thing. The second thing we do here in any Yin Yoga asana is that we then hold the pose. So as I said before, we're only going to hold the poses for about a minute and a half here because it's a beginner focused class, but in other Yin Yoga classes that you might watch of mine, we'll be holding the poses for much longer. And the third principle is to commit to stillness. So you might find your edge and then you might hold the pose, but you might spend the whole time wriggling your toes or bouncing or wriggling your fingers or being distracted by things and people around you. But really, the third principle is very important in Yin Yoga, is that we commit to be still We commit to sit with our own personal inner stillness and the body's stillness. So for the last 30 seconds or so here in this asana, I'd like you to learn to commit to the stillness, release the head, release the neck, allow the body to roll and relax forward, no rigidity in the structure, total surrender. And inhale to come up. Moving the legs out wide now into dragonfly. And just take the legs as wide as what's comfortable for you. You don't want them so wide that your muscles are engaging. You want them nice and soft, and also remembering to keep the feet nice and soft here. So for you, if you find that you're already slouching back and it's hard to sit up on your seat bones, then perhaps sit on a blanket or fold something up to sit underneath your bum so that you can lift a bit higher and tilt the pelvis forward. So from here, you may stay upright, or you may start to walk the hands forward. You may rest your chin on your hands. You may support the forehead. If you have any yoga props at home, maybe you use blocks or a bolster to support you. Otherwise, wherever you are here in the pose, again, going through those 3 principles. So finding your edge, finding the place where you can release into. Now remember, if you're doing this first thing in the morning before the body has warmed up, then you will be feeling a lot tighter than if it's in the afternoon. But also I recommend you only practice this on an empty stomach so that you've got some room in your body to really get into the stretches. So another minute here in dragonfly. Releasing the head and releasing the neck. And then coming on up. For our 3rd forward fold in the sequence, bringing the feet together, legs together, and again soften through the legs and the feet. This next asana is called caterpillar, and we just relax the body again, roll through the back. So all very similar, targeting the lower back, the sacrum, opening up the middle back as well, and releasing the glutes. But in each shape, we're targeting different energy meridians. So we're going for the stomach, the spleen, and the organs here. So just relaxing forward, letting the head go, letting the neck go, and finding your edge for about another minute 20. Being still, committing to stillness. to come up. One of the benefits about a Yin Yoga practice is that we can wear socks. As you might see, I'm wearing my fox socks, some really comfortable, warm socks, and I'm also wearing a scarf. So Yin Yoga does cool the body. It cools down the organs, it cools down the whole of the body system and calms. So you really want to stay warm when you're doing Yin Yoga and not be in a drafty spot or not feel any cold at all. And if you do feel cold, wrap a blanket around you or something like that to keep yourself warm. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of the hip opening asanas now. So the first one that we'll practice together is Sleeping Swan. So start by coming up onto the hands and the knees in cat-cow shape, and then bringing the left knee towards the left wrist, left knee, left wrist, and left foot, swing it out towards the right wrist. And then from here, walk the back leg, the right leg back, 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 until you find that you can go as far as you can with your edge in your hips. If you're on a hard floor and the kneecap feels compromised, then tuck the toes. Otherwise, release the toes. So for the first minute, we'll be upright, again targeting the lower back, but we're more into a back bend here. So we're more about, instead of opening up into the forward folds, the lower back, we're putting a little bit of targeted compression on the lower vertebrae. So we'll feel a little bit of a squeeze there. And just staying with the pose for another minute or so. You can come out of this anytime it feels a bit intense for you. Remember, we're not getting into the pain zone. We're just entering into that space of a tolerable discomfort without any pain. So next we're going to come forward onto our elbows and make sure you're creating a lovely long line from the base of your spine all the way to the crown of your head. Meaning not to take the head down and forward, putting too much opening through the thoracic spine and the neck. So keeping the head in a position where the spine is just a long line from the sacrum, from the lower spine all the way to the crown of the head. From here, rolling on to the left hip gently. And coming back up to a seated position and then back into your cat-cow shape to change sides. So now bringing the right knee to the right wrist, right foot to the left wrist, and then walk the opposite foot or slide the opposite foot back. And again, if you need to tuck the toes to protect the kneecap, then you can do so. So focusing here on the evenness of the hips. So some of you may be dropping down onto that right bum and sitting on the mat. You're not meant to be sitting on the mat, you're meant to be up and off the mat for the right bum. So your hips should be even. Sending the gaze forward. And then from here, coming down into sleeping swan on the elbows. Remembering not to drop the head. And then gently rolling on to the left hip and bringing both legs out in front of you here. Sending the legs long across the mat, fingertips towards the bum, elbows pointing back, lay the body back onto the elbows. From here, lift the chest and roll the shoulders back. So we're taking a bit of a back bend here as a focus to releasing and opening up the shoulders. So you may even walk the bum on top of the hands and then lift the back, lift the chest again. This is called baby fish or supported fish pose. The chin can be in towards the chest, or you can take the gaze up, or you can take the head all the way back. So we're not going to be here for too long because fish pose requires a fair amount of opening and rotating the shoulders outwards. And if you're used to having the shoulders rolled in from whatever your patterns are, it's going to be quite hard for you to sustain this. And also just be aware and focus on the neck, that the neck is comfortable, that you're putting the head and the neck to wherever's comfortable, and not to allow the lower back to slouch down and the shoulders to roll in. So lift the lower back, lift the chest, roll the shoulders, and make your neck comfortable, relax through the legs. Just 8 more breaths here. And then relaxing the shoulders, laying all the way down on the mat with the knees up, sending the right leg down along the mat straight, bending the left leg, taking the left leg over and across the body onto the floor, and maybe your foot stays connected to the other leg, or you release that foot. And the opposite arm, you can either roll in a little bit to the same side, or if you feel like more of a twist, then take the left shoulder down to the mat on the other side. Maybe even open up the left shoulder by taking the hand up towards the head, and maybe you even also turn the head towards the left arm and commit to your stillness here for the next minute. Bringing both knees to center and changing sides. So straightening the left leg out now, bending the right, taking the right knee across the body. And again, the right side can roll over, or you can roll away and get more of a stretch. You may even take this arm up in like a cactus shape towards the head, and maybe even turn the head towards the opposite side. We always generally finish Yin Yoga practice with a spinal twist, because the spinal twists really help us to reset our spine and release all the nerves that might have been trapped in any of the other positions. So coming back to center, just letting yourself be here with the knees up, and then when you're ready, bring the knees into the chest, giving them a little hug, maybe a roll around, and then laying out for Shavasana with your legs out away from you, arms by your sides, and relaxing completely. Perhaps you even put a blanket underneath your knees to send your knees up a little bit if you've got tight hamstrings there. So I'd love you to stay in Shavasana, this final resting pose of laying on your back, for at least 5 minutes. If you can be there longer, that's better. If you're somebody that tends to fall asleep in Shavasana, then maybe put your alarm on. But Shavasana really gives us some time to integrate all of the practice that we've done and allow it to settle into ourselves and create new patterns and pathways in ourselves that bring that health benefit that I was talking about. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this session, and if you would like to, it's probably great to do this practice on a daily basis for at least a few days in a row, if not once every couple of days. I've deliberately made it fairly short and accessible, so it's not going to take too much out of your time. If you can do it before bed, you will feel amazing. If you can do some Yin Yoga practice before meditation, you will also feel amazing. And don't be shy to try this practice in the morning as well. It's a great way to open up and release the fascia and get the juices flowing in the joints before you start your day. So thank you for joining me. Blessings and namaste to you. I hope this class brings beautiful wellness to you, to all parts of you. Bye for now.